the Institute, two research fellows who have done extensive work on the topic we are looking at today, that is insults. I'm not saying that they are experts in insulting people, they are experts because they've done work in looking at the social relevance of insults in our societies. And with me in the studio to do that is Dr. Edward Nanbigne, who is the head of the literature section of the Institute, and Dr. Moses Dortey, who is currently the acting director of the Ghana Dance Ensemble. Dr. Dortey and Dr. Nanbigne, welcome to Interrogating Africa.
Thank
you. Dr. Edward Nanbigne is a research fellow in African literature and drama and is presently head of the language, literature, and drama section of the Institute. He holds a PhD and MPhil degrees both in African Studies and a Bachelor of Arts degree, all from the University of Ghana. He also obtained a diploma in English from the Advanced Literature Training College, now University of Education, Winneba. He is a member of the Publications Committee and editorial board member of the Contemporary Journal of African Studies, previously known as Research Review of the Institute of African Studies. From 2006 to 2007, he acted as coordinator of the NUFU program on globalization and changes in cultures of survival and care at the Institute of African Studies. His research interests are in discourse literature and oral literature in African societies, especially among the Dagaba. He has researched and presented papers with very interesting titles, I might say. One is When We Drink, Then We Think. The other, Drinking and Discourse in Northwestern Ghana, a paper he presented at the Department of English, Rose University, Grahamstown, South Africa. He also has a paper on Praise and Dispraise, that are praise songs and dirges, a study which examines the use of praise poetry and the arts for social criticism among the Dagaba. He's also doing some work with sponsorship from the African Humanities Program of the American Council of Learned Societies on the Gary discourse in the social context of drinking of Pito, the myths of Pito, language used during drinking events, and the protocols. I didn't know there were protocols during the different social contexts of Pito drinking. Dr. Nanbigne, once again, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And Dr. Moses Dortey is an ethnomusicologist and music educationist. He holds an MPhil and PhD in African Studies from the University of Ghana, Legon. His research interests are in art music history of Ghana, the cultural and political context of folk opera development in Ghana, music and the related arts and traditional festivals, as integrated performances. His research work on Ghanaian folk opera in particular resulted in a new transcription and compilation of the music of Saka Akoe's The Lost Fisherman, Ghana's most popular music drama. And interestingly, Dr. Dortey is also a member of the Ghana National Orchestra, where he's a cellist. You've been there since 1993. Yeah. Wow. He was also one of the first co-authors of the African Presidential Scholars Fellowship by the University of Michigan in 2008-2009. He's also a recipient of the 2011-2012 African Humanities Dissertation Fellowship of the American Council of Learned Societies. And he took up his residency at the College of Arts and Social Sciences, University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Like I said earlier on, he's presently the acting director of the Ghana Dance Ensemble. His recent publications include Historical and Cultural Context of Folk Opera Development in Ghana, Saka Akoe's The Lost Fisherman in Perspective, and the Performing Arts and Post-Colonial Ghanaian Experience, the Ghana National Symphony Orchestra in Perspective, published in the Research Review 2010. Dr. Dortey, welcome.
Many thanks.
What is an insult?
What is an insult? We could look at it from basically what we have categorized as both verbal, in terms of it being a verbal form, as well as non-verbal art. You know, when we delimit it to the verbal, this thing, most academics, most scholars who have looked at the subject have basically looked at it in relation to other words like vitriolics, like it being maledicta, and maledicta simply means bad words. They have looked at it in terms of it being words intended to demean, to defame, to hurt the individual's self-pride, and stuff like that, you know. But when you look at the non-verbal, then you're also looking at actions, objects, and things that may also be insulting in nature. For example, you know that within our cultural context, if you were to greet or wave the left hand, for example, as a senior or a very elderly person, that would be deemed as insulting. If you run through a body of elders and senior people, and you are so careless as to knock your body against them, you know, as it were, that will be deemed to be an insulting behavior. Similarly, if you dressed carelessly, literally exposing your back, your buttocks, you know, again before adults, senior people, that will be deemed to be insulting behavior. So it goes beyond words, it goes beyond spoken language. It also includes objects, things, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Even omission can be seen as an insult. Mm-hmm. If you were to pass an elderly person and you don't greet, that is insulting to that elder. Mm-hmm. If an elder assigns you a task, you don't do it, that's insulting to the elder. But these are just forms of it. Scholars have tried to define it. Mm-hmm. And one that is quite close to what we think is by one Thomas Conley, who said that an insult is an expression of extremely negative opinion of a person or group in order to subvert their positive self-regard and esteem. Yeah.
So does it necessarily mean that one, it has to be negative, and two, it has the idea is to probably demean the person, or the intention is always negative, basically? Does it have to be that to be considered an insult?
To a very large extent, and that is where actually our interest lies. We're looking at why society would taboo, for example, that communicative facility. And we think that the tabooing comes in when you think of it solely in terms of it being negative, you know. But there are others who have also looked at it as an art, as a very skillful art, and that those people, the people who insult, are creative people, very skillful at language, able to reach out, delve deep into their language, pull out metaphors and symbols, and be able to describe things sometimes in a hugely exaggerated way. But you can't just help but appreciate that creativity, you know, and having to, and often they are very, such uses of language are very poetic. Okay, so there are others who have looked at it also in terms of this art, as beyond that also as games that people play, as games, you know, between two parties, either two individuals or two groups, and kind of give and take. And it is only those who lack the capacity to think on the spell of the moment and dig deep and they call it repartee, is that right?
Repartee.
Yes, and give an appropriate response.
Show verbal agility.
You know, stuff like that. It is only those who lack the capacity, often who resort to sometimes pugilism. You know, sometimes they throw when you are pushed to the wall and you
then of course begin to see it as negative.
Yes.
When the start of it wasn't really negative.
There is an entertainment It's an entertainment. It's a game. The dozens, for example, among the African Americans. And indeed, if you have ever been a young boy, I mean,
we call it messing.
Wow, you call it messing and stuff like that, you know.
So, but I'm just curious, why would you be doing such a research? Why research into insults?
Well, is that ambivalence concerning insults that first attracted us? Why would something that society sees as negative, bad, if somebody insults, they say, oh, he's a bad person, he's not cultured. And yet we find the same thing within some of the most sacred rights of our society. Why are insults enshrined in our most sacred rights? And then we sit back again and say it's bad.
So that is actually where the attraction to looking at the subject, you know, all began. So the recent thing we presented one paper already, that looked at the performance dimensions.
Okay.
But currently, what is engaging our interest seriously is what he's saying. Why the ambivalence? A taboo subject, and yet you find it as and when. In fact, we were tempted to even use the word hypocrisy, societal hypocrisy, using a facility that you think that need to be tabooed, and yet sometimes, like you say, you know. So, but we thought that hypocrisy might not appropriately describe because it sort of illustrates a real intent. Yeah, you know, that's it. So we prefer to go along with the word ambivalence. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That is a very interesting research you are doing, because insults really as an academic subject is quite exciting. What is the purpose of an insult?
Let me see if I can tabulate a few that people are, you know, that. He says that, as we said, if you look at it in terms of a game, you know, especially in the area of sports, there is one guy, Merv Hughes, who wrote and said that, see, sometimes insult makes the difference between losing a game and winning.
And what does it mean?
They target, so especially this guy is a critic player. So on the field, you know that this guy is a good bowler, and that if we allow him a free rein of his motions, and he's able to have a good day, we are in trouble. So as soon as you get the ball, you get close, you tell him, look at your head. And if he's not lucky to have a very beautiful head, that rubs into, and then anytime you get close, you hit hard at him until, if he is not a well-composed person, and remember,
he loses his cool.
He loses his cool.
Okay.
The whole thing is also to test your ability, self-composure, self-control, you know, to hold back, being so focused as not to be distracted by even insult. If you manage to break the person's self-image down right on the field, he starts fumbling. Okay. And that could make the difference.
I think we saw that in the World Cup.
Yeah, viewers who are even old enough will remember Muhammad Ali and was it George Foreman?
Yeah.
And Muhammad Ali telling George Foreman, you punch like a girl. And Foreman was one of the hardest punchers in boxing.
Yeah.
See, and he made Foreman to lose his cool.
I think the same thing happened with Zidane in the World Cup.
Zidane in the World Cup, and that causes France, you know that. But there are other reasons that people say. Sometimes it is to assert or assume dominance over somebody. If he allows you, and you run him down with a few choiced words, as it were, you know, stuff like that, and he loses it. It gives you a certain psychological dominance, you know, over it. Then others have said that sometimes, given the fact that society is always not straight, insults are meant to straighten people up. Okay. And often that happens when there is a power relationship. You know, parents would insult their parents, adults would give you a few choice words to straighten you up, stuff like that. So sometimes insults, you might not want it, but they are meant to really straighten deviants up. But more importantly too, sometimes it is to purge society of wrongs, and that is where you know,
Power play comes.
yes.
Okay.
Those who have power and then those who do not have power.
Okay.
Those who do not have power have the chance at least once in a year to unbear their hearts.
Okay.
And once they have done it, they put closure to all the pent-up emotions of that year.
Okay.
And we have several festivals in Ghana where these insults are performed.
We'll be coming to that, but listening to you, the reasons, the purposes of this insults, then when is an insult really an insult?
Wow. In fact, if I may add this one, to the psychoanalyst, it is to serve as an outlet for repressed impulses. It is also to serve as a, you know, so we could give you an example of a typical polygynous environment where a woman with a child at the back, you know, living in the home of the in-laws and having very little avenue to speak her mind. And so the opportunity comes for her to just doing ordinary pounding whether grain or stuff like that, and that's a nice opportunity to sing along and throw a few jabs to the in-laws and everybody. That's the only avenue. If she were to say the same things, speak them, of course, insult, it would, you know, it might be thought to be perhaps getting out of the mind.
Yes. So the context determines whether it's an art or it's an insult.
Yeah. Okay.
So, as the example he gave, the young woman or a woman is pounding and singing. The words of the song are targeted probably at the husband or at the in-laws.
Okay.
But within the medium of singing, they cannot take her on. But if she were not to be doing that and she were to say the same words directly to the husband or to the in-laws, then it becomes an insult.
And in addition to context, which we might be speaking to, you know, is also the area of intent.
Okay. So that don't actually people hide behind the context and say what really they want to say, trying to hurt people's feelings? Would that be saying that because the context is different, even though the person has the same intention, it wouldn't be classified as an insult?
Fantastic.
So Dami,
yes,
for instance,
yeah. You would yes.
That wouldn't be an insult.
Yeah. Well, in the case of Dami, if we may so say, it's almost like it has become part and parcel of the game. In fact, like the game, we in the context of sports, which we said, that's part of it. It's to basically break you down.
Okay.
And a few times people have lost their cool.
Okay.
And that has led to their... So, to that extent, fine. The one at the receiving end might say that this is a bit too much of it, so for me it's insult. While the one do they say, oh no, it's not. So who is at the receiving end? And as I say, the context.
So it's interesting. So then who defines what is an insult? Because if you've been following what is happening in the country recently, the national sports Blasters manager said something and he was taken on that it was an insult. He says it's not an insult. People have asked that he apologized and he's saying that it's not an insult. So who defines what is an insult?
In effect, it's relative to where you are standing. If you are on the receiving end and you don't take it as a sport, you don't take it as a performance art, you don't take it as an aesthetic thing, then it becomes an insult to you. The one performing it decides that I'm doing it for fun. Or, well, I want to insult you, but I use some indirection. Okay, so I haven't insulted you because I didn't mention your name, I didn't say anything directly, I used some innuendos, and therefore you cannot say, so you deflect it. See, the one performing it may deflect it, but who feels it knows it.
I think in addition to that, it's a communicative act.
Okay.
So I get that the larger society's culture regarding what is and what isn't comes to play. I remember reading about Penin Adekun's, talking about these verbal taboos. And within the Ashanti or the larger Akan community, references to a person's ethnic origin, associations with animals,
his sexuality,
the shape of your nose and parts of your body and stuff like that. These seem to have been generally accepted within that culture, that when somebody is making references to this, particularly like he said, when there is a bit of a feud, a bit of understanding, within that context, you might, it doesn't quite matter how much you might try to deflect it and say that I did it. I think so, like the larger society would construe that as insulting.
After all, Ajekum even describes insults as a linguistic warfare.
Yeah.
And in war, you want to win.
That is a very strong one. Warfare. Oh, okay. So if insult is an art, a performance art at that, how is it performed?
How is it performed? Performance art, because as I mentioned earlier on, they could be couched in songs. And songs dealing mainly with poetics. And then the sonic is also a sonic art. Okay? And then possibly, depending on it, could be accompanied with instruments and danced to. Okay? They could be couched in a lot of indirections, use of metaphors and figurative language. In proverbs, okay, which are all forms that are described and looked at as art forms, okay. Beyond that, if you meet expert insulters,
we do have.
We do have expert insulters. There are formulae that are followed. And a typical example, for example, would be that the person starts by insulting him or herself first. Okay. So say, hey, I know when you want to insult me, you are likely to say that my mouth is big. I know that my mouth is big. I know I don't have fine legs, and these are the things you're likely to say. And once it does that, it deflates. And he can now start his own, stuff like that. So, both in the choice of words, then whether they are the metaphor, the choice of metaphors, the poetic language, and then the formulae, all of it is what makes insult sometimes to be likened to.
Women can even go for tutorials.
How many hours tutorial?
Let's say they've been defeated in an insulting match. They go back and get tutorials from experts and come back and confront the person again.
Indeed, they could hire experts.
Experts.
Yeah.
When
you couldn't face up, your opponent, you could get a more qualified.
Wow, this is very, very exciting. So, as an art, when are they performed? Do we have instances in, say, Ghana, when there are specific occasions for the performance of this art?
So again, we could look at it in terms of the individualized or informal appropriations and formal.
Okay.
Some of the informal contexts are what we made reference to earlier in the area of sports, in terms of boys, doing this repartee as a game that they enjoy, what we call messing, and then real feuding contexts where people resort to. So those are informal contexts. But we could also stretch it to there are very formalized contexts within which they are used. And those ones, most societies that do that. In Ghana, among the Intechima, the Akpo Festival. In Accra, if we go to Teshin, if you go to Choco, the first week of January, if you go to Tema Newtown, the Plejo. As I speak tomorrow, there is Tema Plejo.
Oh.
Yes.
We would love to have
Between 3 and 6 o'clock, you should be there. I mean, these are sanctioned contexts for the use of insults.
Wow.
You know, where there are complete reversal of roles, where chiefs and elders of the town must come and take their seat on the stage up there and listen to what now the so-called ordinary people have to tell them. And to do this for the whole year, the ordinary people may have been eavesdropping on the actions and inactions of some of these ritual and authorities and political authorities within the community, and then some of them would get into a canoe, go up sea, compose these gossips into songs, and some of them are explicit insults. And you must sit down within the 2 weeks of this festival.
A 2-week?
2-week festival, yes. Within these 2 weeks, nobody can touch them. There is a complete reversal of rule.
2 weeks of free insults.
Free insult. Power actually is in the hands of the so-called ordinary, and you, the political figures, must sit and listen to what your people have to say.
Is it only targeted at the traditional leaders or anybody at all you have problems with in the society?
No, not really. There are some formalized situations where it's ordinary people, like the Hello used to be in Everland.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't targeted at authority figures.
Okay.
Probably I have a problem with you. I get a group to make Hello songs that will insult you.
Okay.
You also get a group to make songs that will reply. And I think that's the situation that we find in Choko.
Yeah.
Where it's not targeted at only authority figures. It could be give and take between groups. Okay. And if you find among the Tamashek and of some Gezama, they are the Tuareg people, they have it in weddings.
Weddings?
Yes, where probably the second wife and her friends and the first wife and her friends, the incomings, an incoming wife and her friends, and then the existing wife and her friends would insult each other.
Okay.
But that is meant to, okay, we are going to be rivals. We are going to have problems. So let's work it out right now. Let's get over it. Let's insult each other. And once we have done it, we've put closure to it.
Okay.
Then we can settle down as co-wives.
Wow.
Notice I said rivals and now I said co-wives.
Right, okay. Well, listeners, the program is still Interrogated Africa, and I'm in the studio with two experts in insults.
But not insultants.
Dr. Moses Lee Dortey and Dr. Edward Agbidu, both of the Institute of African Studies. You can follow the program on our Twitter handle at Interro Africa, Interro as an INTERROAFRICA, and on Facebook, Interrogating Africa. We'll take a short musical break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at social relevance of insults.
Manchester, Manchester, Biane Supi, you will back message if you get saying ya. Hello, Jennaga. When you say ya, will back from Hello, Jennaga. What more you be and you know 212 me.
Welcome back. The program is still Interrogating Africa, and we're looking at insults. What is an insult? When is an insult, and what is the relevance of an insult? I have with me two experts on the subject, Dr. Moses Nanbigne and Dr. Moses Dortey. And Dr. Dortey, can you please tell us what the song is about?
Yeah. This was recorded, I think, in 2011 at Choco.
Okay.
In Choco, the first week of January, often they celebrate their own some street dances. They created a festival of street dances, and which originally it's like they don't quite do it, but they say they had copied that from Teshi and Tema. And it's basically to allow them to ventilate their concerns, things that go on within the community. And they've created, and now it's almost sort of accepted. Okay. So what this song is simply, this song is a criticism to they call it the supi.
Okay.
And by that they are talking about gay and people in gay and lesbian relationships.
Okay.
Which seem quite rife in that community.
Okay.
And within the festival, when the festival is going to end, they pluck some special herbs into a bowl of water with seawater. Okay. And then it is believed that all those, if you have special requests to the ancestors, you could bathe yourself with a little bit of the water, and then you could say a prayer. Okay. And hopefully by the close of the year, you are likely to receive your prayer request. Okay. And so the song is basically like, see, you Supi women, we have a problem. It pains us that you are involved with this. Okay. Now we're going to make these herbs, and we encourage you to come and bathe yourself in it, with the hope that by the close of the year, you will be cleaned of that diabolic behavior. Okay. That whether you come or you don't, we will tell you what we want to tell you. Oh, okay. And that is, stuff like that. Oh, wow. So this is one of such songs. That's the formalized context of the use of insults and social criticisms. Okay. All right. So that's particularly about the song. Wow.
Yes. That leads me to the next question, which is what is the relevance of these things? Why would people want to insult people? What's the relevance of these insults in these societies, communities? What does it do for them?
Well, insults are used in society to straighten up social deviance. Okay. That's one way with insults. You do something bad in society, a song is composed, you may not even know who composed the song, but it spreads like wildfire. Okay. I remember growing up, there was a song about a bachelor, a young man who wouldn't marry. He was still living with the brother and his wife, and one day he went in the kitchen and tried to clean up the soup bowl and he fell and broke. And there was a song made about him in Dagare about a bachelor who will not marry and he's breaking up bowls.
And did the guy marry after that?
Well, the song doesn't say whether he. The bachelor has cleaned the soup bowl. As he was cleaning it, it fell down. Okay. Cleaning it, not washing it, but using his finger to clean the soup and lick.
Okay.
And as he was doing it, it fell down. He will pay for it 20 and 10. That's 30 calories. I mean, those days.
Okay.
And the song spread like wildfire. Of course, you can imagine the embarrassment of this young man.
Okay.
So, other bachelors would want to marry, and there were quite a lot of songs about irresponsible bachelors, and so the thing was that it was socially a deviant behavior to be grown up and not married.
Okay.
And so when people hear such songs, they would want to marry. There will be songs about people who steal or who go after other people's wives.
Okay.
So they put people on the straight and narrow path.
Okay.
So that is one function of insults in society. And we already mentioned earlier on about this expiation of the emotions in society, where you are given the chance to let go whatever pent-up emotions you have had in society during the year. There's a set period where you say it all out, you put closure to it, and you start the year afresh. Okay. And in doing that, it's not only the individual emotions that are purged, but the society itself. Okay. The sense of the society, the pent-up emotions of the society, everything is swept clean. In some societies, symbolically clearing of paths, cleaning of the place. With others too, it is bringing up all these vituperatives, and once it's done, it's out of your system. So that's just another.
Yeah, and if I may just add to it, it's the paradox is actually where insults are also supposed to purge. Okay. Just like what he's saying, purge society. So prior to the homo and to the festivals, rituals are done to cleanse the society. If you were in a typical Ghana area, even if you choose to die around that time, no barrier. And because that's the time they are cleaning. Rituals are being done, goats and these things may be shed blood to cleanse the society completely. Houses are being whitewashed, alleys are being cleaned and swept clean, paths are being cleared. It's all part of the cleansing. Then to top it up, you don't only clean the physical and the spiritual, you also clean the emotions. You also clean the emotions with the hope that when the year comes, the festival comes to an end, we have put a complete closure to all the misfortunes, including emotional hurts. And when they will say that today we have finished the festival today, from tomorrow we're starting a fresh new lease of life. Okay, not just in terms of this, but also every individual other thing. There is also the dimension, and that's quite interesting. I had the opportunity to watch a ritual that was meant to take a would-be traditional official through one of the processes that would make him a wulomo. Okay. And I don't want, for want of, I'm not too sure how to handle this matter, so I won't specifically mention the areas, but I can talk about the subject. And so the person had been confined over time. And as part of the rituals, he needed to walk through all the alleys of the town. And as he went through the township, ordinary people, some hooting, some insulting. In fact, I have to say, Toko Ashikonto. And this is in the Ghana language. Megbeno yo, Omanye ko manye, Namo yo butu, Ashima shio butu, Ko yicho, Namolelefan, Julo. J-boy or junior. You understand it? Matuabo. And when they say Matuabo, you are a tortoise. What right have you here? Who hails from Mobutu? You know, it is this one. Just look at his head, like a piece of canoe, wooden canoe. A thief you are a thief, and stuff like that. And he has to go to, that is somebody going to be accessed to the highest priestly position in the land. He must go through this. And I asked some of the senior ritual officials, and they say, hey, if he doesn't do this, the whole confinement ritual processes can never be deemed to be complete, to be successful. One, it tests his own endurance. Second, it also marks a clean break with your past status. Okay? So it's almost like bidding farewell to your first lower status, lowly status, your pals at that level and friends. It's almost to tell them, well, I'm on my way up. But then they too, they say that, well, before you get there, take it. Before you get there.
At that stage, it's in a liminal state.
It's in a liminal state, yes.
Between his temporal self and the kind of spiritual being that he's going to be. He's in there, and so he has to be transitioned over.
With insults?
Insult is part, it's not the whole thing. But it is a necessarily part. You must have developed the capacity, especially for chiefs. With the Wulome, who are priests, you know, their position is such that it doesn't quite allow them a lot of interaction with the ordinary people. You know, but as for the chiefs, constantly you deal with people. They keep coming and going. You hear some, you know, gossips and insult. You would have to learn to deal with it, and I get it's all part of a way of toughening you, testing your endurance first of all, toughening you to know what lies ahead. I remember my grandfather was a chief, and when he was alive, he would tell you as you go to the town, you know, you were likely to come across people insulting me. Make sure you don't react. Always the old man would tell us before we went to town. And I guess this is one of the relevance, you know, to put, you know. If I may quickly add a third, and this is from research, that in normal times, what constitutes abnormal is rejected in normal times. But in abnormal times, you need the abnormal to restore society back to what is normal. So you would notice that some of the people who use the most vulgar of language are soldiers, Asafo group, company, people who have to constantly deal with perilous danger. And it is basically a certain stance of defiance. Secondly, it is also to help them cope with the peril. I think you would add to this,
because it's a psychological thing. We already are in a dangerous situation, so the normal laws of society don't work again. So we descend to the profane. If we even go back to Greek, as far back as the Greek Dionysian festivals, where everything was allowed, all the profanity, the gross activities of society were allowed as part of that festival. Now, when soldiers go to war, they are not going to be singing Christian songs. How is that going to give them, what's their word, morale to fight?
Well, I haven't been to war. I can't speak to that. But I just wanted to...
They need something that shows that they are tough. And the tough in society always want to descend into the profane. And it's a psychological thing. And if we go out of Africa, in Iceland, insults have been institutionalized as a way of toughening people, letting people build stoicism. So for them, it's not your ability to reply, but your ability to take it and not react.
But you talk about all these uses of insults. But in your research, have you found any evidence to show that this actually performs the functions they are supposed to do?
They do. And let me cite this one more societal use in what we normally call joking relationships. And this is among the Asantes, for example, and the Nzima. They are believed to have that kind of relationship. And if you have a joking relationship, what it means is that you could, Eddie can speak better to this.
So
you see,
the Daba and the Frafra.
Yeah.
Okay.
I meet a Frafra man, say, hey, foolish man, come here. In fact, I have had occasion, the past Bolga Naba, Abilba Martin, passed by his compound, so he say, hey, Abilba Martin, how are you?
a whole
Can you
chief.
imagine? That's the chief. But as a Daga, I could do that to him and get away with it.
Wow.
And then he's just like, look at that foolish Dagari man.
Okay.
And it doesn't go, and because of that joking relationship where Frafres and Dagaba can insult each other, you hardly find any trouble between them.
Okay.
No matter what happens, they joke over it, and then.
So insults are basically considered as jokes?
Yes.
Wow.
It becomes a joke. It's no longer an insult.
I think we'll have to do another session on joking relationships.
Joy FM program. When somebody entered and put a slip of paper in front of me, I didn't know him from Adam. He had written on it, stupid Dagari man, you are sitting here and telling lies. I immediately knew that was a frustrated man. And I was there with Charles Wekubrobe.
Okay.
So I just pushed the paper to him. He looked at it, he understood, he laughed.
Okay.
And I said, do you know, my daughters are married to a frustrated. So I understand. You see, I was talking about how such things can be used for nation building.
All right, that's quite interesting.
Yes, if we have these kinds of things among all the ethnic groups. In fact, it's been known to work where in times of serious trouble between two ethnic groups, people they have joking relationships with can go into men.
Okay.
And of course, when they go is these kinds of non-stinking insults that they will use.
Okay.
Oh, so you stupid people, you can't even fight and you want to fight. Okay, we are here to broker peace so that they will not kill you all. They will use those kinds of jokes. Some people might consider them insults, but to the people involved, they are no longer insults.
You see, let me just quickly add this, that insults become insults somehow when there is some truism in what is said.
Okay.
You see, they could be grossly exaggerated.
Yeah.
But if what I'm telling you has some truth in it, in fact, you are ugly, your nose is this, and I'm saying,
but there are certain truths that are not to be said.
But as it turns out, when they are in such institutionalized contexts where the insults are guarded by protocols, and they could be mere exaggerated expressions, because they don't stick.
Okay.
They are not true. They are just words. They are games that people enjoy, and so that is where it ends. You know, that's where it ends. So I guess this is one of the reasons for the ambivalence, where we think that in one sense, no, don't do it. The individualized context, where it is deployed in a feuding context, that one can really jolt and upset social relations and stuff like that. But within the institutionalized concepts, we call them insults perhaps because of the choice of words.
Okay.
But really, in the real context of use, they are not considered as such.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We've almost come to the end of the show. I was really enjoying myself. I think we need to have another session on insults. I think I like the jockey relationship bit.
Yeah.
But just before we end the show, why is there so much ambivalence? You've really enlightened us on the uses of insults in societies as checks and balances for all sorts of behaviors and, even bringing about peace among warring factions. Why then is there so much ambivalence towards insults?
Because people have lost the art of insulting. In fact, it's something that even Churchill and a few other great orators have lamented about the lost art
Of insult.
Okay.
Gone were the days when in the politics of the UK, the United Kingdom, for example, it was part of it. Having the capacity to to insult, especially in an oblique.
I'm just dreading it, being institutionalized now.
Then I shall send some tickets to him. Say, come to the showing of my new play. Bring a friend if you have one. And Churchill replies, I can't come on the first day. I'll come on the second if there is one. So it tells Churchill that look, you don't have any friends. And he too replied, your show is so bad that there will not be a second show. See.
And then the second reason perhaps for the ambivalence is that too often it is a fact that insults have the capacity to disturb social relations.
Okay.
If wrongfully applied.
Okay.
It is the context. And that's what we call it the individualized appropriations of that communicative facility in a feuding context. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes. And especially where people are, the references are made to some context like your ethnic background, religion, your associations with animals and stuff like that, your sexuality, those things can be very, very hurting. And that is why society frowns on that.
Okay.
But the institutionalized context where they may be used without an iota of truth. But it is to give expiation, to give avenue for people to vent. They need not be factual. You understand? That is where that's what accounts for the ambivalence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's been an exciting session. Dr. Moses Dortey and Dr. Edwin Nanbigne, thank you for coming on the program. Like I said, I'm sure listeners will want to have another dose of insults. So, on behalf of my technical producer, Peter Azar, we'll catch you next week. I've been your host, Dr. Edem Adote. And you can follow the show on our Twitter handle, Interro Africa, and on our Facebook page, Interrogating Africa. Catch you next week. Bye.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people